Hey guys, it's a new year, so it's time for a new tier list. Hey guys, before I jump into the tier list, I wanted to give a quick shout out to Unite Pro. Now, Unite Pro is a website that is an information hub of sorts for Pokemon Unite. It has the characters, the items, the scalings of the moves. You'll have all of the stats, and they even have a cool feature where you can equip items onto a character and see the values of the moves change right before your eyes. And as of recently, this even includes the stacking items. So definitely go check out Unite Pro. It's a really good source, and it's what I use to make my builds. Now onto the tier list. Okay, so first up we've got Absol. Now Absol to me I think sits in the middle. It sits in around the B tier. Now the reason for this is Absol is really strong in the early game. It's very powerful and it can really snowball, but it has to snowball, which means that Absol has a very punishing late game if you don't get ahead, which to me makes it sit around the middle of the pack. Then we've got Blastoise. I think Blastoise is in a very similar place to Absol. Very different. The early game of Blastoise is not too strong, so you can't secure too well in the tri-lane, but the late game of Blastoise is quite impactful, which I think puts it again in this middling tier. Now, you're going to see a lot of Pokemon in this tier, because I think this game is fairly balanced at the moment, so we're going to see some really big standouts, and some that just don't quite keep up. Now we have Blissey. I think Blissey, again, sits in this middle tier. I should have shuffled these around and thought about this beforehand. Blissey is a healer. Safeguard is an amazing ability to stop CC for your team. Softball is an amazing heal. The Unite move of Blissey is incredible. It can make somebody 1v9 in the right situation. It's just incredibly strong. But Blissey, to me, just doesn't live up to some of the other supports in the game. Charizard. Charizard, I believe, sits around here in the C tier. Now, Charizard's Unite move used to go through the body barrier shields, and it no longer does. What that means is that Charizard isn't as impactful as it used to be, and being in a full heal meta makes it really hard for Charizard to even land its Unite move and really get that benefit, especially being in a Wigglytuff meta as well. So it's a little bit rough for Charizard at the moment. Next, we have Cinderace. Now, the buff to Cinderace's Blaze Kick, to me, almost made an S tier Pokemon, but I think it sits right at the top of A tier. I think Cinderace is an incredible jungle pick. This Pokemon is so incredibly powerful. The only issue it has that stops from being an incredible S tier Pokemon to me is the fact that we are in a very strong dive meta, and it is very easy to dive as Cinderace. So that, to me, makes Cinderace a little bit less than an S tier, but it's still very strong, a very strong pick. Cramorant. I'm gonna have to put this one down here with Charizard. So Cramorant to me has a really strong early game. It can really help in the fighting phase and securing the farm. Whirlpool is great for that. When you get Surf and Hurricane, you're really impactful early. Unite just doesn't hit hard anymore. They nerfed Cramorant's Unite a while back, and it just makes the Pokemon feel very underwhelming. I know some good Cramorant players that would make this Pokemon look S tier. It just, for me, the Pokemon just doesn't quite live up at the moment. Now we've got Crustle, who I want to put here in the D tier because realistically, this Pokemon just has nothing going for it. They removed Stealth Rock's ability to crit, which I don't know why. I don't know why Crustle needed a nerf. It wasn't very strong, and this makes the Pokemon almost useless. The only thing that makes me want to move it up a tier, which I'm going to, is the fact that Crustle is such an incredible Pokemon on those scoring comps. And those scoring comps, while not very good, can help you win in some mid-ranked ladder games, and so Crustle kind of has a place there. Eldegoss. This Pokemon, to me, it baffles me that this Pokemon has not been nerfed into the ground, because Eldegoss to me is absolutely S tier. It is unbelievable how much support this offers to a team, and it feels as though if you don't pick Eldegoss, you're kind of almost throwing at this point, and I don't like that in a game. I don't think that's healthy for a game. I would love to see some Eldegoss nerfs. I know a lot of you Eldegoss mains there are going to be like, no, I just heal, I don't do damage, but top level Eldegossers are doing as much damage as the attackers on the team. Eldegoss is just far too strong at the moment, and I'd love to see it toned down just a little bit to be brought a little more in line. Then we have Garchomp. This one hurts me. Garchomp hurts me. I love Garchomp. I love Garchomp. I think this Pokemon is so much fun to play. I just don't see a reason to play it. I just don't. I mean, it used to be a bit of a late game hyper carry, and even then it wasn't very good. But now they've reworked the levels, right? So Garchomp comes online a lot sooner, but they removed the ability for the Dragon combo to crit, which I just don't agree with. And Garchomp is just it feels really strong in the mid game now, but it just doesn't feel like it does much in the late game. I know the Earthquake Dig set is a lot stronger than it used to be, and that's a net buff for Garchomp. I just think there's no reason to play this character. If you want to do exactly what this Pokemon does, there are just better options, and I definitely would love to see some love to Garchomp, and I want to see this Pokemon be S tier. I love Garchomp so much. Gardevoir. Um, I'm going to put it in the solid A tier. I know after the nerfs, a lot of people are probably going to put it a lot lower than this, but I definitely think the level reworks were huge for Gardevoir. There is the problem that Ralts is really, really easy to invade, which is a big problem. But if you can get through that early game with Ralts, you can then turn into Kelia, and your impact on the first Bs with Future Sight is just so strong, and your level 11 onwards with Future Sight Plus it's outrageous. This Pokemon can output so much damage and has such a strong Unite move. I definitely see some big potential for this character. Again, the dive meta doesn't help it, but it can work, and I just believe in this Pokemon. I think it's generally pretty strong. Next, we have the other Gar, so the third Gar, Gengar. I'm gonna have to put it down here with Garchomp. I think in solo queue, Gengar can be a lot of fun. I play it all the time, and I've played it in the top lane, the jungle, the bottom, wherever I feel like it, because it's just a fun Pokemon. And there's not many Pokemon in the game that can win a 1v1 against Gengar, which makes it pretty strong. But if you're playing at any decent level, you're not gonna get any 1v1s. No one's gonna give Gengar a 1v1 on anyone on their team, and that's what to me makes it feel just not great. The Sludge Bomb Hex set is AoE, and that can fight in a team fight. But if a team's paying attention and if they're popping full heals, then you're just gonna not really do anything, and that sucks for Gengar. I want to see some more love to this Pokemon as well. These are two of my favorite Pokemon in the D tier, which makes me really sad. Greedent. This one's hard. I think I have to put it in the B tier because I think it has the potential to be incredibly strong. Borderlining top of A tier. Really, really strong. But it also doesn't synergize with anybody. Greedent kind of just does its own thing the entire game, which I guess is cool in a way, but that to me holds it back from being a really top tier Pokemon. I think Stuffed Cheeks Bullet Seed is a great set. Covet's not quite what it used to be. This Pokemon's ability to just get around the map safely and just absorb and tank up damage and even do quite a bit of damage is just really good. And I think it's a solid pick. I just don't think it synergizes well with others. Greninja. Greninja's going straight to the A tier. So Greninja, this Pokemon got shadow buffed, and what a shadow buff is, by the way, is it's getting a buff or a change to its moves without us being told about it in the patch notes. What they did is they changed some of the animations on this Pokemon, so you can actually boosted attack almost during Surf, which is a huge deal, and you can output a tremendous amount of burst damage at one time. I think Greninja is really, really strong right now, in a really solid place. If this was in order, I would put it above Gardevoir, but I'm really not. I'm really not putting these in order. I think Greninja is very strong and a really, really solid jungle pick for your team. Then we have this Pokemon, the god of the game, the never to be. Just they've nerfed him 4 times, and he's still outrageous. Lucario is a problem, and I know a lot of people are going to say, but he's just not as good as he used to be. Tsarena's out now. No, Lucario's a problem. No one can fight Lucario in the other game. Nerf this Pokemon, please. If you are listening to me, please. Please, Timmy. Nerf Lucario effectively. Please don't just take away 5 attack or a little bit of his shield and think that he's fine. This Pokemon has way too much, and it's just... It's dominated the meta for far too long. Can we please all agree that Lucario has had its time to shine, and maybe you should just take a little step down, just a little bit, if that's cool with you guys. Machamp. Now, I'm gonna put this in the B tier, in the midsection. I think Machamp, the Unite is literally a free kill. It kills a carry. A carry can't survive the Unite. Submission is great into CC teams. Dynamic Punch is great into other teams. Close combat, if you want a little bit of secure. Crush Chop, if you just want some burst damage. I think Machamp has a lot of potential. If this game had a draft format, Machamp for me would definitely be picked a lot more. It just doesn't match up well to a lot of things, but it does counter certain things. So I think it's a niche pick, but it has a lot of potential, and I would love to see more Machamp in the game. Mamoswine, I guess it sits here now. The Unite move is still so underwhelming. I'm contemplating putting it down a tier, but I'll probably leave it here. Mamoswine has incredible CC early. The level changes made it a lot stronger, and it's just an all-round pretty solid CC bot is all it really does. It just CCs the hell out of you. You can't move. It's really solid for that. The early game is very pressuring. The mid game is very pressuring. The Unite is there. It really doesn't do much, but it's kind of cool. And I think Mamoswine's in a pretty good spot. Wouldn't mind seeing a little buff to the Unite move just to bring it up, but I think it's a pretty solid spot. Mr. Mime. Okay. I think anyone who knows me knows I love this Pokemon, and I'm gonna put it here. I know a lot of people put it in the A tier, but I think a skilled Mr. Mime is one of the deadliest things to verse in this entire game. It is so punishing. It can take a lot of damage. It can do a lot of damage. It can zone. It can crowd control. It can put a game on its back, and it's a support. Mr. Mime is really strong, really strong. You get no farm from this Pokemon in the other game. If you're versing Mr. Mime and he knows what he's doing, you don't get anything. You just sit there and you watch Mr. Mime as he just takes away all your farm, and you can't do anything about it. The Pokemon's really strong. You could argue A tier, but I think a very skilled Mr. Mime puts it in the S tier. Ninetails. Ninetails. I want to put it here because I feel like this is where it performs, but I also just don't know why you'd pick it right now. So I'm going to put a little one lower. Ninetales, for what it does, really strong early game, really good crowd control, but it just doesn't live up to the other picks that want its role. So it just really doesn't have business being played. I mean, some people love Ninetales. I find it very annoying to go against. It's a decent Pokemon. It just doesn't scale incredibly well, and it's just not the greatest at the moment. I think they could give a little buff to Ninetales. I know the Blizzard buff definitely brought it up for a while, but there was another buff that we'll talk about in a minute that made Ninetales just be left in the dust. And that buff is the buff to Pikachu, who is now an S tier Pokemon. Pikachu has an 89-second cooldown on its Unite move. That's the same as Talonflame's Unite move, and that means that you have it up every single team fight, every single engagement you have Pikachu Unite move, plus you have the crazy early game bullying, plus you have the crazy poke, the crazy crowd control. Pikachu right now, to me, is the best attacker in the game, and I think that it's an almost must-have for teams. I think Pikachu is incredibly strong. I'm loving to see it. I actually don't think it needs to be nerfed, but I wouldn't mind seeing a little tweak somewhere. But I think Pikachu just right now overshadows all the mage style attackers and is just in its own tier in that category. Slowbro. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the B tier. Sorry. I think Slowbro is generally great. It's a great counter pick, and there's certain Pokemon, like one we'll name later, that you just want to grab hold of and not let do a thing. And Slowbro is the perfect counter to that. They made some changes to Amnesia, giving you more special defense. They made some changes to the passive, giving you more effective healing, which is a lot better. And I think Slowbro, even though it just doesn't really have a place, it has been picked by some teams, and I've even played it myself quite a bit, and it definitely feels a lot better. And I think Slowbro is in a pretty decent spot at the moment. Snorlax. I'm putting Snorlax in the A tier solely because I think Snorlax is a league above the other tanks that I put in the B tier. And I think that the changes to the levels on Snorlax, getting Heavy Slam at 5 was very strong. Block is incredibly strong. And Snorlax is just an all-around solid pick. It always has been, and I think it always will be because the kit is just very good. Now, because of the full heal meta, Snorlax is not an S tier Pokemon. Snorlax maybe even could go down a tier if I had more tiers on my list, but I think Snorlax is in a really good place. I just think full heal needs to be nerfed so some of these other characters can shine a little more than they are at the moment. And yeah, I think Snorlax is great. Sylveon. I guess I put this in this middle pack here too. I think Sylveon is really strong. Hyper Voice is really powerful. It's a middle of the pack Pokemon. There is reason to pick it because of the AoE constant ticking that it does. And even in solo queue, there's reasons to pick it for Mystical Fire for the mobility. And the level 8 Unite move, again, a great feature to have. I think Sylveon's a great Pokemon, great for most teams, and I think we will see a lot more Sylveon as the game progresses because Sylveon is just, it's just a good pick. It's a solid pick, and I think that's great for the Pokemon. Talonflame. Now, I used to think this Pokemon was up here, and I'm starting to think with the changes that it sits around. I don't want to do this. Here. Oh, that hurts. I think that Talonflame's whole thing was to rush level 7 and just insta-secure and just be great at doing that. But it's got some competition in that kind of a role now. And I think that makes Talonflame fall a little down. I really want to put it up a tier. I really do. I think it's a great Pokemon. I just... I just don't think it has the potential it has. Not because it's had too much done to it. The fly and movement speed, while impactful, was not that big a deal, but there's just better picks for the jungle at the moment, and that's all it comes down to. Venusaur. This Pokemon was an S tier gigantic threat. It got a little nerf, Pikachu got a large buff, and voila, Venusaur is in the A tier, which is great. I'm happy to see Venusaur not be the be-all, end-all of the game anymore. It's still an incredible pick. If teams are running Venusaur, the end game of it is incredible. But now you have Pikachu to be able to bully Venusaur within the early game and really mix things up. And it's made the game feel a lot more fresh. It's made it feel a lot more... What's the word? We'll go with fresh. We said fresh, we'll go with fresh. It just made it feel a lot nicer, and I'm liking the change to Venusaur. I always wanted a little movement speed buff on it, and nerf on it, and I'm glad that we got that. Wigglytuff, yeah, so Wigglytuff is Wigglytuff, right? Wigglytuff is the I don't want you to play the game, I want to play the game, but not really, because I don't actually have to do anything because I'm Wigglytuff. Like that's Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff is fun to pretend to delete from the game. I can't stand Wigglytuff. I can't stand Wigglytuff. I think Wigglytuff is the most anti-fun Pokemon in the entire game. Its passive says no, you can't do anything. Its boosted attack says no, you can't do anything. Its abilities say no, you can't do anything. Its Unite move says no, you can't do anything. I don't, stop it. Get this Pokemon out of the game. I'm so sick of Wigglytuff. It's so frustrating. Its early laning is not the strongest, but its just dominating presence of just being in your face is so aggravating, and I could do without this Pokemon. I could do without Wigglytuff. Let's no Wigglytuff. Hashtag no Wigglytuff. Anybody? Anybody? No, just me. Okay, cool. Okay, Zeraora. Solo Q-ish. I think it's somewhere around here still, even after the nerfs. There is a bug going on with Zeraora, so it's really hard to test things. I guess it sits here in the middle of the pack with the rest of these Pokemon. I think Zeraora, being the only Pokemon to get its Unite move at level 10, is held back a little bit by that, and it's terrifying to imagine this Pokemon getting its moves earlier, but Wild Charge still just one-shots everybody, Spark still one-shots everybody, Discharge doesn't one-shot everybody, but it kills them, and the Unite move is just really, really strong in a team fight. I don't think there's any way you can say Zeraora is a bad Pokemon. I just don't think it's the top of the food chain at the moment. I think it's sitting in a spot where it's decently balanced, and it's just kind of, it's pretty good. And we have Decidueye. This B tier is getting really full. I should, next tier list I might make another tier, because these Pokemon are all exactly, they're not all exactly the same, but they're fairly similar in where they sit. I think the Decidueye on a really coordinated team with a lot of crowd control on it genuinely sits here. It sits in the middle of the pack. It's really solid. It's a solid pick. You can run it in the jungle and just shred things. But I think in the current meta, the way it's really played, I would put it down here. I don't see a reason to take the Decidueye over Greninja or Cinderace. I don't see a reason to take the Decidueye over Talonflame, Zeraora, or Machamp. I just don't see that reason. So I'm going to put the Decidueye down in this tier. Even though it's a really strong Pokemon with a lot of potential, I just don't think it's quite dominating. Now we have Tsareena. Now I'm sure all of you think this Pokemon sits here. And in solo queue, I agree with you. But I think on teams, coordinated teams, it sits here. It sits in the A tier. Really high up there, though. It sits in the A tier. It's really hard to deal with, but if you're focusing it down and paying attention, you can take Tsareena down. And the nerf to the heals, that was a big deal. That was a really big deal, and Tsareena definitely isn't the overwhelming presence in team games that it was before. Its early game is not that great, so it's really hard to find a spot for it. You only really need to hit level 6, so putting it in the jungle is kind of a waste of some XP. So it's a Pokemon without a place that's really strong. So you have to sacrifice something to play it. And even then, it's strong, but a coordinated team that is paying attention will be able to take it down, and it won't run away with what it does in the solo queue games. Dragonite. This Pokemon to me is S tier, and I say Pokemon loosely. I think Dragonite as a Pokemon is like in the C tier, but I think that Hyper Beam is S tier and Dragon Dance is S tier. I think Dragon Dance, if you read the move properly, is one of the most overpowered things to be in this game ever. The way that it stacks, the constant resets you get from it, the mobility of it, the buffs of it, and what it does to your Hyper Beam is just so unbelievably powerful. This Pokemon can take out a Dreadnought at almost 20% health. It can take out Articuno at 10% health. It's got the best secure in the game. It's got an ability to rotate really quickly, and it's just so incredibly dominating if played correctly. If you're trying to flip an Articuno, if you're trying to flip a Dreadnought, and the enemy team has a Dragonite, you're not going to get it if they play it correctly. Sure, bad Dragonites will mistime their abilities, and you'll feel, I can get this against a Dragonite, or maybe we think, just CC the Dragonite, but a good Dragonite's going to hold his full heal for that secure moment, and it's really going to be hard to deal with. Without something like a Slowbro Unite, Dragonite's just going to take the objective, so you have to fight, and it forces you into fighting. And if you're behind, that's really, really rough to deal with. You don't want to have to fight a team from behind when a flip seems like a better option, but it just isn't when Dragonite's there. And last but not least, we have Krashy. And of course, guys, we're going to put Krashy in the S tier because Krashy is great. Krashy did so much for me last year, and I'm happy to work with him more this year. We have a lot more coming for you guys, and I love this guy. I hope you guys check him out, of course, if you haven't. And yeah, Crash is a great dude. He needs a nerf, but they're not going to give him one, unfortunately. So I guess he just sits there in the S tier for as long as he can. Before I leave you guys, a quick shout out to the members. You guys are wonderful. You have no idea what you've meant to me in the last few months. And going into the next year, I can't wait to take this journey further with you guys. You are absolutely incredible, and I love you so unbelievably much. That's not really English, but you get it, okay? So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and have a wonderful day.